Hello and welcome to the Novell File Management Suite Proficiency Series Sales Training. My name is Doug Clower. I'm the Global Enablement Manager and Collaboration Evangelist for End User Computing. To begin with, let's look at where Novell File Management Suite fits in the market. This offering is part of a much larger storage platform and storage resource management market space. Offerings in this space are a mixture of hardware platforms, software products, and services that are designed to manage the storage resources of an organization. We'll cover the hardware and software aspects of this space in just a bit. Right now, it's important that we set a context for the magnitude of the storage requirements organizations are facing today. According to IDC, the amount of stored information will grow to nearly 1.8 zettabytes, that's 1,800 exabytes, by the year 2011. Now, these terms may be quite unfamiliar to you, so to put it in context, a petabyte is 1,000 terabytes, an exabyte is 1,000 petabytes, and a zettabyte is 1,000 exabytes. The short of it is that a zettabyte is basically a billion terabytes, so these are quite significant amounts of data. To provide a bit more context, as of 2004, Google had an estimated 5.6 petabytes of hard disk space in their server farm. In what might be a more tangible illustration, if you collected all the printed material in the world, that would consist of an estimated 200 petabytes. So, as of 2004, even Google didn't have enough capacity to store it. Leading analysts claim that 60% of all existing data is unstructured. However, it's projected that with the newest data types, up to 80% of the projected growth will be in unstructured data. So now, let's take a look at some of the concerns customers have about storage and how those concerns relate to their unstructured data estate. Before we start, let me do a level set for the definition of a pain point. A pain point is a concern, issue, or focus that a company is attempting to find a solution for, whether admitted or latent. The most prevalent issue is a reduction in the available capital to invest in hardware infrastructure. On the storage front, efficiency is at the core of the concern and the need. Consideration for how much available space is at hand and how it's being used is always really important. There exists an underlying question of how the storage is being used. Do all the files really belong there, or are there some that shouldn't be there? Given the amount of data that must be stored, how much does it cost me to maintain? And if I need to expand, how much will it cost me to accommodate that growth? The ability to efficiently manage the storage environment is an ongoing challenge to most organizations. Now, this generally doesn't apply to the structured data side of the environment, but absolutely comes to bear when discussing end-user file space. Knowing what is in the file system, who is using it and who put it there, when it was last accessed, and why it's important to keep are elemental questions on the mind of management. Once those questions can be answered, the final question is, how do they deal with each instance, be it a file or an event, and what's the impact on the operational efficiency of the IT services? Beyond just being efficient in managing the file system, accountability is expected. The rise in security threats requires organizations to be able to demonstrate compliance with industry and governmental regulations such as Sarbanes-Oxley, ISO 15489, or PIPEDA, along with a number of other local statutes. Being able to demonstrate ownership or chain of custody and access for any given file on the network is paramount to ensuring security of corporate data or prevention of to prevent unauthorized content from being improperly stored. Many organizations have file storage policies without any way to effectively enforce those policies. Now that we have a better understanding of the customer pain points, let's turn our attention to the question of who within an organization typically cares about storage and what their key challenges and concerns are. Generally, the first roles that care about the user space or unstructured data is the system administrators. These frontline responders are charged with the responsibility of managing servers and file systems availability to the end user, yet high end user to administrator headcount ratios impact daily operations. Here, they're always looking for ways to do more efficiently, and do it with less. A second area of concern pertains to a highly dynamic end user population, where either turnover or mobile workforces can require a great deal of effort to manage. This churn rate is an issue that system administrators must deal with, and solutions that automate these tasks, such as zero-day start or other provisioning solutions, are very appealing. Administrators are also concerned about security, but from a different perspective than, say, a CISO might be. They must ensure that in collaborative environments, individuals that join or leave different teams or groups are granted the appropriate access to the resources needed to participate. They also need to make sure that they can track access and ensure that improper access or exposure of sensitive data is denied. One last area that system administrators pay close attention to is cost. This can include hard costs associated with hardware server cost, hardware storage platform, and storage software management cost if they have the responsibility for storage platform, and soft cost, which are the key underlying issue at the heart of all three of the previous areas of concern covered. In many cases, the storage platform responsibility does not rest with the system administrators, but rather with the storage manager, sometimes known as or referred to as the storage architect. Their primary motivation is to be able to track allocation, utilization, health, and performance of the storage infrastructure. In most cases, their concern looks to the block level or bits on disk element of the environment so that they can ensure that they do proper capacity planning and are able to report on data storage trends, often to help develop cost justification for future storage expansion, enhancement, or replacement. They have similar cost concerns as their system administrator counterparts, but they focus more on the hard cost aspects of the platform, such as how much does it cost to expand my existing platform by 2 terabytes, or what would storage management software cost me for the given capability, and would it help me be more proactive and well prepared to perform my responsibilities and achieve my SLA. System administrators work closely with storage managers to carve out storage for their server environment, so there's usually a give and take and a cooperative effort between these two. Regardless whether the role is a system administrator who has storage responsibilities or the duties are split between the system administrators and storage managers, it all comes down to file services with an associated cost of operations. Which brings us to the third role to consider, the operations manager. This role may be referred to as the IT director, the IT manager, or maybe even rolled up to the CIO, but regardless, the operations manager's number one concern is cost as it relates to meeting the service level agreements with the business. Storage may have less of a significant direct impact on budget footprint, but in the IT world, it is central to all that happens. Without cost-effective, reliable storage, the job of IT will not happen. Having a complete picture of the storage trends will help inform the budget planning process and make storage change management justification much easier. Let's now move on to uncover the characteristics found in an ideal customer opportunity. Now, before we delve into this area, let me be clear. The final decision rests with you as to whether an opportunity is worth pursuing. There is no way that all factors that can and will affect whether an opportunity is something you should pursue can be covered in this module. Rather, these are guidelines of conditions you should be looking for to help you and your manager make the decision on how to or not to proceed. In general, a good opportunity is one where a prospect has admitted a pain and is actively looking for a solution now. They should be early in the process such that they are receptive to the solution you will present them. You can tell that they're receptive when they're willing to provide metrics, or better said, they are cooperative in discussing details of their needs when working with you. Being able to demonstrate credibility through sharing a success story from a similar company or in a similar industry will help in building the buying vision. Any one of these in and of themselves is not an indication that an opportunity is worth pursuing, but when a majority of these are present, it's likely worth the effort. Those are the general characteristics to consider when assessing an opportunity. Now, let's look at some of the specifics. Novell File Management Suite will appeal to a broad class of customers, including organizations of any size. Typically, you're going to find a sweet spot in the mid-market to large range, but they're going to have a significant storage capacity. And Microsoft Windows Server and Active Directory user base environments are also very good targets or opportunities for this solution. This offer is not bound to Novell-only customers, but has a compelling value proposition to all customers of all types, including the Microsoft Windows environments. Additionally, you will find organizations that are restructuring existing or migrating data to new storage infrastructures as good opportunities. They'll also have a mixed storage environment and no way to manage across it. Those are other characteristics you might want to look for. Sometimes they will have invested in storage technologies but have little or no investment in software management or management of that space in terms of being able to look at what's inside of that. In some cases, customers have had to cut back on operational expenses and they must make the most of whatever existing hardware they already have. Operational characteristics, such as when the responsibility for managing the server and storage infrastructure is centralized under a handful or a single IT professional, is a good opportunity or a good sign. When the ratio of end users to administrators is really very high, or when the user population is quite dynamic. Customers that are already familiar with Novell technologies, such as Novell NetWare, Novell Open Enterprise Server, and especially Novell Storage Manager, are also very good candidates. When you're evaluating an opportunity, ask yourself, does the customer see the value in addressing their unstructured file space growth? Have they already admitted a pain that must be addressed? Does the customer see value in tying files to individuals, groups, and roles? Do they want or need to be able to follow a chain of custody? Is the customer looking to make changes to their storage infrastructure? Are they primed for a migration or infrastructure upgrade? These questions will help guide you as to whether or not the solution is right for this customer. Be prepared to deal with more challenging opportunities. These opportunities may require more effort, so you'll need to determine if they're worth the pursuit. Ask yourself, does this customer face stringent legal or regulatory responsibilities for stored data sources? This certainly will involve non-IT professionals in the justification process. Does this customer have highly structured boundaries between user services and storage architecture? Often, this may present a less than cooperative set of stakeholders who believe a hardware vendor solution is preferable. This may also indicate they already have a vision that has been crafted by another vendor. Ask yourself, can I re-engineer the customer's vision to match Novell's? Does the customer have a homegrown investment in a scripted solution for storage management task automation? This will often indicate that not just a separate server and storage administration role is involved, but the introduction of a third party into the discussion, the in-house developers. Don't completely discount these opportunities. Just be aware of what it will require and decide whether the risk is worth the reward. On the other hand, in some cases, you'll need to ask yourself if it isn't just time to walk away. Ask yourself, does this customer have a highly focused storage strategy around a single vendor where the storage infrastructure is virtually homogeneous and the vendor has a comprehensive solution set in place? Their vision is likely set. Is the customer not experiencing significant growth? Even with the proliferation of newer and much larger file types, some customers just may not be in a growth mode, and Novell File Management Suite may be a non-starter. Does this customer just not see value in connecting files stored on data devices with directory service provisioned user identities or roles? And you might ask this question: is the customer already looking at another vendor and you're being approached or considered simply to fill out their need for a third bid or column fodder? Now that we've covered target customers, their pains, and the roles that have a vested interest in unstructured file management, think about how you want to approach the conversation. Start with opening questions, questions that invite stakeholders to talk freely about points of interest and pain points, points of concern. One such question that relates to Novell File Management Suite is, how do you know who has stored files on your network and what kind of files they are? This type of question should provide you the opportunity to follow up with control questions such as, how much space are your user files occupying? What does that cost you? What kind of legal threat might files stored on your network pose? Or how much redundant or orphan data do you have residing on your storage servers right now? These types of questions allow you to determine if the customer is participating in sharing real metrics by providing data that can be used to build justification of any potential solution you present. It's now time to cover that vendor landscape I discussed earlier. When you pursue an opportunity, you will undoubtedly encounter and need to compete and potentially cooperate with various vendors to meet a customer's need. The vendor landscape is divided into two segments: hardware and software. Hardware vendors, by fundamental definition, provide the storage hardware platform. To a varying degree, they also provide storage resource management software that helps with the provision of physical, logical storage allocations. Vendors such as EMC provide a wide variety of software that encompasses a wide range of capabilities, while others focus at the core provisioning functions of SRM. These latter platforms are often complemented by specialized software vendors. Software-only vendors fill the gaps left by the hardware vendor provisioning solutions. Some expand on the SRM aspect, while others work on deduplication, and yet others work on classification and tracking. The one general shortcoming of both the hardware and software vendor offerings is that they largely focus on block-level hardware management or structured data management. This leaves a gap that Novell File Management Suite is designed to fill. It's important to note that just because an organization has an SRM solution, it doesn't mean that Novell File Management Suite can't enhance that solution. In many cases, it can. To fill the gaps left by the other vendor solutions, Novell File Management Suite does three things for the customer. First, it delivers automated data reporting to provide an ongoing assessment of the unstructured file space. Second, it delivers an identity-driven data management capability to manage the full lifecycle of files and file space provisioning. Third, it provides for a policy-based data relocation engine. Here's a conceptual diagram that gives you an idea of how those three capabilities work in concert. Novell File Reporter produces reports the administrators can use to construct and fine-tune policies. Novell Storage Manager provisions storage based on identity and policy, and Novell Dynamic File Services allows for seamless tiering of storage infrastructures based on policies. You can see how the three of them work together largely on the policy side of things, and policies are at the heart of this solution, providing the automation needed to address specific customer needs. Policies govern the lifecycle automation and compliance with regard to file system data. Now that you have a better understanding of the vendors that provide platforms and software solutions and how Novell File Management Suite fits in this space, you need to be prepared to handle objections that might arise when you're pursuing an opportunity. The objections you will encounter will vary based on who you encounter. For instance, an IT manager might comment that they have Microsoft Windows servers using Active Directory. From what you've learned, you would know how to respond and can tell her that there's no problem. The Novell File Management Suite delivers a solution for most any customer environment, even when they run an Active Directory-based network with Windows servers. Likewise, an IT director may challenge you and ask, why would I buy this from Novell? And you could respond that Novell's heritage and proven expertise in file systems, networking, and industry-leading identity services provide all the backstory for this solution. Who better delivered the solution that intelligently manages file storage for maximum business benefit based on user identity? Skepticism is always present, but you can even provide industry analyst perspective and assessments like Noemi Griesdorf of IDC, who stated that Novell File Management Suite is the only solution capable of automatically managing data at the file level without impact to the end user, and no vendors are successfully providing file-level management for Linux and Windows platforms. Pretty powerful statements from an industry expert. To be able to better discuss with customers how each component of the suite operates, let's take a closer look at each. Novell Storage Manager has been in market for several years now and is the core component of the suite, providing the broadest range of capabilities. Novell Storage Manager works by tying the unstructured file storage assets of an organization, whether they are storage area networks or traditional storage platforms deployed on Microsoft Windows servers and Novell NetWare and Open Enterprise servers, together with identity. It doesn't matter whether the directory service is provided by Active Directory or eDirectory. Novell Storage Manager harnesses the power of identity to help provision, deprovision, and manage the unstructured file space based on individual group and roles within an organization. It does this throughout the life cycle of files in the unstructured file space, triggered by events defined and secured by policies that match an organization's storage and access requirements. The power of identity is used to tie roles within an organization to the user data and control the disposition of each and every user file within the managed domain. But what about the files themselves? This is where Novell Dynamic File Services comes in. Most file systems are dominated by stale, unstructured data. The result is an unnecessary increase in storage infrastructure cost, including a less than efficient data center footprint. Working in concert with Novell Storage Manager, Dynamic File Services and its siblings Dynamic Storage Technology found in Open Enterprise Server addresses this issue by providing automated data relocation utilizing policies to relocate infrequently used unstructured files to low-cost storage devices. These policies can be based on age of the file, the size of the file type, the file owner, just to name a few. This automated tiering is completely transparent to the user with a merged view of the files. An end user would never know that the files within a single directory would exist on different hardware platforms based on how frequently or infrequently they are used and accessed. Administrators can even tailor separate backup and restore policies for frequently and infrequently used information. It's the identity of the file owner and the metadata associated with it that is used to customize the policies. The third component of the suite, Novell File Reporter, takes inventory of the unstructured file system to uncover and expose the junk in the drawers, providing valuable information customers can use to inform the policy creation process. It was developed to examine and report on terabytes of data. In other words, millions of files and subdirectories scattered among various network storage devices that are part of the network, including Windows NTFS, Novell NSS, traditional NCP file spaces, and Linux Riser and ext3 file systems. To do so efficiently, Novell File Reporter disperses the load of work between the storage reporting server and storage reporting agents, with agents available for NetWare, OES2 on Linux, Windows Server 2003 and 2008, as well as SUSE Linux. As I mentioned, Novell File Reporter was developed to examine and report on terabytes to petabytes of data. By dispersing the workload, Novell File Reporter can scale to 100 million directories, 1 billion files, 750 million unique file names, 100,000 unique file extensions, 200,000 owners, and 75 million duplicate file names. In anyone's book, that's a very powerful file reporting tool. To summarize, Novell File Management Suite is a cross-platform solution that allows organizations to effectively manage their unstructured file-based data estate regardless of storage hardware or file system type. It provides real value to our customers even when they have some level of SRM software in place, by providing exhaustive data inventory capabilities, comprehensive file management, and task automation utilizing policies leveraging data relevance and intelligence while being able to demonstrate security and compliance. In short, Novell File Management Suite is an integrated offering that provisions, moves, optimizes, and reports on file storage based on user roles and customized business policies that allows an organization to intelligently manage file storage for maximum business benefit. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the Novell File Management Suite Proficiency Sales Training. This has been Doug Clower, your host, wishing you happy selling.